Darlene, can you hear me? Michael Cadell and JC will not be at today's meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Are they trying to get in by phone or, you know?
JC was going to try to get in by phone.
Okay, so is everybody here that's going to be here? And it's, what time is it? 3:29.
We're waiting for Sarah.
Okay.
Oh, she was here.
She was on.
I don't know where she went.
Who's the 1650? I have one phone, like a phone call thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hello, this is you. I'm dialed in on a phone line.
Okay, great. And I see Sarah's just arriving.
Okay, Sarah, are you in? Commissioner Burling, can you hear me?
Can she call in also if she can't get her computer working?
I think the answer is yes, right? They can call in.
Yeah. I asked her to show her video of her.
Okay.
There she is.
All right.
Hi.
All right, so I'm going to begin the regular meeting for the Forest and Beach Commission for Thursday, October 14th, 2021. We've had a tour of inspection and we're back ready to start our meeting, and we need a roll call.
Chair Mosley.
Here.
Commissioner Burling.
Yes, here.
Commissioner Sowers.
You're muted.
Commissioner Sowers, you click.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're next going to have public. Commissioner Cadell and Commissioner Myers are not in attendance today, correct? Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, so public appearances. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern, not on the agenda during public appearances. Each person's comments shall be limited to 3 minutes or as otherwise established by the commission. Matters not appearing on commission's agenda will not receive action at this meeting, but may be referred to staff for a future meeting. Persons are not required to give their name, but it is helpful for speakers to state their names so that they may be identified in the minutes of the meeting. So do we have any public appearances today? How long should we wait?
I think you can go ahead and move forward at this point.
Okay. Seeing no public appearances, we'll move on to announcements. Are there any announcements today? Bob.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Two different announcements. One has to do with the terms of the commissioners. There was a report submitted to the City Council for the October 5th council meeting that clarified when all the terms end. That was on consent, actually. That was removed. One or more of the City Council members wanted to revise the terms. So I believe that's going back to the City Council either in November or December meeting. So as of today, whoever's terms are expiring next, it goes through at least December 31st of this year. So it kind of leaves some of you hanging on, but that's the official word we have as of right now. The second comment has to do with the next Forest and Beach Commission meeting. I guess November, December last year, maybe it was January, we adopted the calendar for the entire year. The next scheduled Forest and Beach Commission is on Thursday, November the 18th. And the reason that's on the 18th is because the 11th is a Veterans Day holiday. So it's scheduled for November 18th. However, there's the Climate Committee workshop, a public workshop is being held exactly at the same time, November 18th at 3:30. I think it's up to the commission as to what you want to do. There's three options. One is have the commissioners voluntarily attend the Climate Committee meeting, workshop. That's one option, which means we would cancel the Forest and Beach Commission for next month. Another option would be to go forward with our committee at the same time, your commission at the same time, but then people would not be able to access the meeting via the YouTube from the city's website. Remember, we had that situation a couple of meetings ago. And I think maybe it's only two options. So cancel and attend the climate workshop, or continue on as scheduled with potentially less participation.
What is the workshop, Bob?
It's the climate change workshop. They're going to be explaining what the risks are that have been identified, kind of summarize what work has been done to date, and then start to get public feedback as to what we can do about it. How are we going to adapt to these recognized threats?
And what date is, so we're for sure canceled on the 11th because of Veterans Day, and so
Correct.
this is the 18th that we're talking about.
Right.
I wonder how heavy our agenda might be for November if things are coming up, and if it might be worth our while to go to the climate review, which really has a lot to do with what's happening with trees and that sort of thing also, and air quality and everything. And then maybe on meeting in December.
Right, it's the trees, air quality, and the beach impacts from sea level rise, stuff like that.
I think what you're suggesting, Darlene, is to skip it till December, and I would agree with that. I'd like to go to that workshop.
No, I would like to go to the workshop on the 18th and not
That's right. Yeah.
our regular Forest and Beach meeting on the 18th, but have that roll to December was what I was saying.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. Yeah.
So right now on the docket, I have a stop work order where many oaks were trenched through. I have another tree that is being applied to be removed from the right of way. And then I also have a tree that's buttress roots were trenched through for a new sewer. So I can push those to December if you would like.
Were any of them urgent, Sarah? Is any of them going to prevent progress on whatever projects these people are working on?
No.
Okay.
How do you feel about that, Brian? Are you?
I would say we push it to December.
Okay. So why don't we plan on all of the Forest and Beach commissioners attending the climate meeting on the 18th, and we'll have our next regular Forest and Beach Commission meeting in December. And that's probably what, December the 9th?
Yes, it's December 9th.
Okay.
Hey, Bob, a question. Is that meeting based on the report that was recently submitted?
That's kind of like the background of work done to date, but they're also going to start talking about now, what do we do about it? Looking for public input as to what we do. We've identified the risks, we've identified the hazards, the assets that are most vulnerable, and so what do we do about it now? So that's what the workshop is all about.
And do we need to vote on this, or do we need to just put it in the minutes that that's our decision?
I don't think we have to vote. It's just a decision that is made.
Okay.
It's under announcement, so.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Any other announcements from anyone? No. No? Okay. We'll move on to orders of business. That's not true. Well, or we have to have the consent agenda done. Thank you. So items on the consent agenda are routine in nature and do not require discussion or independent action. Members of the commission or the public may ask that any items be considered individually for purposes of commission discussion and or for public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. So under our consent agenda today, we have the approval of the September 9th, 2021 meeting minutes as presented. Are there any questions or comments from the commission regarding minutes?
I have one comment, Yvette, and that is Susie Query, who did the pickleball presentation, spells her name S-U-S-I-E.
Okay, I can go ahead and change that. Thank you.
That's it.
Anyone else? And anyone from the public? Then can we have a vote to approve the September minutes as presented?
Yes. I move we accept them. Brian?
Yes. Yes?
Yes.
We don't need a roll call, we just accept them?
No, I need a second.
Oh,
Second.
Brian gave them.
You do, because of Zoom, we have to do a formal roll call.
okay. And I'll second it.
All right. Chair Mosley,
Yes.
Commissioner Burling,
Yeah.
Commissioner Sowers.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the minutes are approved. And now we have public hearings. Our first public hearing today is the approval or denial of a permit application to prune a public right-of-way oak tree on Santa Lucia Avenue, northwest of Lincoln Street. Forester Sarah, can we have your report?
Stephen Yu has applied for a pruning permit to reduce the height of an oak of a tree that's in the public right-of-way. Mr. Yu has been concerned with the height of this tree since 2018, when he first began requesting the oak tree be reduced in height. He has formally applied for the permit now. Since the tree is not dead, dying, or diseased, I don't have the authority to allow it to be pruned to enhance his view. It actually states in the municipal code that it's the city's policy to not allow pruning or tree removal for view enhancement. So that's why we're bringing the application to prune to the commission. And you bring up the photos real quick. Okay. And here's the view. before 2018. And here is the view from the same location now with the trees growing into the view plane. So my recommendation is to uphold municipal code and deny the permit to prune.
Okay. Thank you, Forester Sarah. Does anyone have any questions or discussion? Or do we let you have his, I'm sorry, I lost my train. I've got 4 things going on here.
I want to, since we visited the site, I wanted to, I feel like I need to explain pruning and heading a little bit.
Okay.
So I just pulled some really quick sketches up in the last 10 minutes to share with you. So this tree here, can you see my cursor? This one?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be the shape of the tree growing naturally. So when it's pruned, you can see that the branches are cut back to another branch. So that thins the tree. So what we're looking at in the case of this tree is that when we start removing these little branches up here, these bigger branches are still in the view shed. So then you have to prune all the way back down to here. So those little tip branches kind of snowball down the stem to where you're reducing a sizable amount of the tree. So this is what happens when you head a tree. So you just chop off the branch. You don't go to another union. And what it does is it causes much more bushy growth to kind of originate out of one spot. And that makes the branch much weaker. These split out a lot easier. And eventually what happens when you have to keep going back and doing that heading type cut. So with the thinning cuts, you don't get this kind of response. The tree will retain a more natural shape. So does that make it a little more clear?
A little bit, because the question I was going to say was, you know how there's a lot of branches, like you're showing in the tree on the left there, it's branching out, and then the one on the right shows not as much branching out. So what you're saying is there a way to thin that and keep the shape of it without actually cutting off the main artery, I guess, the main big.
Yeah. So if this was the tree in question, we would be cutting here and here.
Okay.
So it'd have to cut just because the height is too
You have
big.
to do that.
In this case, I mean, we could come to here and take that part off. The problem is this is still in the view plane. So then if we wanted to take that off, we'd be coming back down to here.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
I would think that the way I think we first were thinking before you told us, Sarah, when we were there, of, that we should take that bigger branch out, that it would be good just to go down a little bit. Yes, maybe it has to be dealt with later, maybe it won't be dealt with later, but that is kind of a compromise. The idea, what it does say in the regulations, is trees can't be cut for view unless it's for the whole city or whoever's around. And I think that's something we have to look at. People pay big money for their views, and it's not as though it would be killing the tree or people would notice driving by if we just took some off the top. And if you look at, if you're on scenic and you look back towards the cypress, And the next couple blocks, you can see that all sorts of limbs have been cut off for people's views there. How that's happened, I don't know. I haven't been around watching, but I think that I would very much be for him being able to allow him to improve his view somewhat without really changing the tree to take out that whole big branch.
I'd like to hear what the property owner has to say.
I would too, but I need to be just a little bit clearer on, is there a way, well, and maybe this should come from the property owner, is there a way for a tree company, a reputable tree company that we use to go thin out those branches, get them lower, but leave the major limbs, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Is there a way to accomplish both save the tree and save the view?
I have to get up into it to really see from the ground. It looks like we need to take larger limbs off. We could attempt to reduce the height and see how it goes, but the tree is going to continue to grow. So it'll be a reoccurring issue.
And oak trees grow fairly slowly, correct?
They can, but they can go a little faster if there's optimal weather and there's no moisture.
And then you were also mentioning some sort of thing that you put in the soil, or something that causes them to grow slower.
Yeah, it's a plant growth regulator, and what it does is the tree continues to grow, so you'll get cell division, but you don't get cell elongation. So it goes.
You don't get what, did you say, Sarah?
So you'll get cell division, so you'll get new cells, right? But what it does is it prevents them from getting longer. So you're kind of making compact, shorter branch tips, and that can control the height of the tree for 3 years until it would need to be applied again.
Okay. Anybody else from the panel have anything to say before we ask for public comment, and from the homeowner? No? All right. Then I guess we're ready to hear from Mr. Yu, if he would like to speak to us.
Great. Thank you very much. My name is, for the record, my name is Stephen Yu, and I'm the owner of Lincoln 2 Northwest Santa Lucia. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you to City Forester Davis for facilitating the discussion and the commissioner's site visit earlier today. I guess I have a couple comments in reaction to today's discussion. The first is that Ms. Davis had noted that it's not the policy of the city to approve requests for trimming to improve the view. And I respectfully assert that the trimming that I'm requesting is not to improve the view, but rather to reverse encroachment by the tree on the view. In other words, I'm only asking to go partially back to the way it was, not to improve the view that I have. Now, I'm not a tree expert, and that's why I've hired Iverson to assist me with taking care of the trees on my property. And I had asked them what they thought they might be able to do with the city oak. And their suggestion was that managing the canopy by taking a couple of feet off might be appropriate. I defer to the experts in terms of what the best way to achieve my desire would be. And I'm certainly open to, giving things a try in terms of an alternative approach to then, cutting a 6-inch branch, because that's, I understand that that's not, probably in the best interest of the tree. And I love the city trees, and I don't want to do anything to harm them. So all I'm asking is to see if there is a way that we could thin it out and reduce the height by a couple of feet in a way that, doesn't necessitate a wholesale cutting of the tree. And I'm amenable to having Iverson, do something, and I mean, in consultation with the city forester, doing some small steps and seeing if it works. And I like the idea of applying a growth inhibitor. I do acknowledge that the tree will continue to grow, and I want it to continue to grow. And if every few years I need to revisit, how the tree might be trimmed, I'm open to that as well. Again, I don't want to destroy the tree in any way. And so that's, I think, my remarks. In closing, I don't think I don't want to do anything drastic. I think it's still consistent with the city's policy not to improve views. We're just going partially back to the way it was. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. If not, I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Yu?
Excuse me, this is Rami from Friends of Carmel Forest.
Hi, Rami.
Hi, I'm sorry I wasn't able to join the Zoom. The passcode wasn't working for me, but I'm on my phone. And I just have a question for Mr. Yu. What part of the view that you had before that you don't have now are you trying to see?
The branches and the leaves near the top of the tree are now obstructing my views of the water. So I can still see the sky, I can see the mountain range, but from the vantage point of my living room, which is where the primary view is, the tree is now obstructing the bay views that we used to have.
So you want to see all the way down to the sand?
To the water, especially.
That's going to be more than 2 feet of. That's going to be more than 2 feet of trimming.
I acknowledge that. I mean, in my ideal world, we would go lower, but like I said before, I don't want to do anything that would be viewed as harmful to the tree, and so I'm willing to live with a little bit less so that it remains, but I recover as much view as I can.
I would just suggest that the commission consider this very carefully, because there was a time when there were no trees here and people had beautiful views, and this might become a slippery slope. That's my opinion.
We'll take that under advisement. Anyone else from the public want to make a comment on this before we bring it back to the commission? Anybody have any other questions for Mr. Yu? And I think I have one. So, Mr. Yu, I want to be really clear, you were very willing to work with a very well-known tree company, Iverson, to accomplish taking as little of the tree away as possible?
Well, I guess it depends on how you define as little as possible, because 0 would be the least possible. But I'm amenable to, minimizing the amount that would be cut in order to improve. I shouldn't say improve, because that seems to be a word of art in the code, in the city code, but rather to revert my view, as much as reasonably possible, while still maintaining the integrity of the tree. Okay. I guess
we need some more discussion from the commission, and I'd like to hear what anybody would like to say on that regard. Have any questions?
Madam Chair, if you would, for
Yes.
the record, to close the public comment period.
Oh, can we close the, yes, let's close the public comment period. Thank you very much.
Well, I stand where I felt before, and I think that it's very reasonable what what the owner is wanting. Yes, it's a slippery slope, Amy, but views are very important. And interesting enough, if you read the material from Devendorf and Powers, the views were what attracted them to Carmel and why they wanted to develop it. So I think the owner is going to be quite moderate, and the instructions just have to be clear to Iverson. And I am very much for allowing him to do that.
Well, Sarah, this is Brian. I mean, I guess what my biggest concern is that you're actively involved in what's going on here, because, you know, I'm a little always hesitant about the tree companies and that work in Carmel, about what they do and don't do, because I think it's really based on who's paying the bill, and the city isn't. So I think it's really important that your oversight of what's cut on this tree is of the critical point. And if in your view, when you climb up in that tree, you guys take a look at it and you can only take, you know, a foot without damaging the tree, then it's really back to the owner's decision tree on whether you want to take that and go along with that. Other than that, I mean, I'm kind of back to the code again. I mean, we're not here to allow new viewpoints, and if it damages the tree in any way, shape, or form, then I think I'm not on board with it. But if you in your oversight feel that some level the tree can get taken, that the owner is agreeable and amenable to, whether he has to do it multiple times over the years, I do appreciate the fact that he's gone through the permit process and asked us to review this, instead of gone out there and just done it without any oversight. And we'd have to come back to him with some penalties or whatever. But I think it is reasonable, given the fact that the tree has grown over his term of ownership up and above his viewpoint, and he's asking for a reasonable accommodation to take a look at it from, you know, an expert like yourself, Sarah, to address the thing, as long as it doesn't impact the tree in a negative way.
Is it also possible to get a report from the tree company that Mr. Yu decides that he might use to do the work? I mean, do we move forward with permission without having knowing exactly what the game plan is from the people that are going to do the work, and what their goals are regarding how much or how little they're going to have to prune or trim?
Mr. Yu mentioned that they had said they could go down, I think I have this right, about 2 feet. Is that what Iverson said? Mr. Yu?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Yes, Iverson said a couple feet.
So would that be satisfactory, Sarah, do you think?
I don't know. I'm thinking more of a written, it seems like every time somebody comes forward to our commission for something like this, they've gone to an arborist. They either have an arborist or a tree company that they've spoken with. And I see, you know, I understand that Mr. Yu's spoken with Iverson, but we usually have some sort of documentation that, you know, this is the tree, this is what we're going to do to it. And so I'm just wondering how we do that, just so that we have something a little bit more for the record than what we're all saying here. I don't know.
Sarah, is that reasonable? Whether you'd work with Iverson, they can come up with after you look at it, a plan about what's to be taken away or not?
Yes, that's reasonable.
What'd you say?
Yes,
reasonable.
That's reasonable.
Okay.
Well, Can you help me out here, Bob? What should we do?
I don't know if I can help you out, but I can ask Sarah a question if I may. Certainly, we've had private property owners obtain an arborist report, independent arborist report, or sometimes we do the independent arborist report. If we're talking about a total tree removal, I don't recall a case where we've gotten an arborist report for like pruning. And again, this is a city-owned tree, so anyway, I'm just asking Sarah for your advice, your guidance on if it's appropriate for the applicant to pay for an assessment or an independent assessment on how to prune it, or is that something strictly in your bailiwick that you would guide that process?
Well, at the end of the day, my responsibility is to enforce the code. So if the commission does grant the permit for the pruning, it would be nice to have third-party documentation, just to the point that we have the documentation in place so we don't go down the path of precedent, like Rami suggested. But again, I'm stuck with enforcing the code. So
would it be sufficient for Iverson to specifically say what they were going to do, and then we approve if we like that? Or
well, if you decide to grant the permit, I would want to be on site supervising
okay,
what they do.
And should we move forward, or should we make a motion that the homeowner get this written documentation from whomever he's going to use to do the pruning of the tree, what the game plan is, how everybody's bases are covered, again, since it's a city tree and he's paying an outside contractor to trim the tree. Is there anything else we need regarding, I don't know, insurance or something? And then grant the permit once we have all of our ducks in a row.
well, that would be one possibility, unless it's enough to have Sarah be there when they're working on it and have you approving what they're doing.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of that, Sarah.
Would it be enough to have, since Sarah said she would want to supervise it, to know that she's going to protect the tree, perhaps even more than Iverson wants, but that would be okay?
Yes. Brian, would you like to weigh in on this?
Well, I think I'm back to Sarah, and I mean, I think we need to have some documentation on this because we are going outside kind of the municipal code function, and we're asking the city forester to go outside code, following the code, and we as the commissioners are giving potentially our consent to doing. I think we should document it in some way, shape, or form. And that with Sarah's, oversight, as noted in the permit, that anything cut over and above what her direction is just a no-go. And then it would be open to and then it's open kind of to the owner whether he even wants to have it done. Because it may be only a foot, it may be less than 2 feet, I don't know.
If I may ask Sarah one more question, if no pruning is done at this time, does the city every so often prune our trees? In other words, if we do nothing today, would it be 10 years before the city prunes that tree? Never? 20 years?
I was very close to being able to prune on a rotation, but then we're back to putting out fires again. There's large trees that need to come out. It's more important than taking over pruning. That's my goal. is to be able to touch every tree on maybe a 5-year cycle, but we're just not there yet.
Okay, thank you.
I think it would be nice as a part of whatever trimming we're doing, in looking at that tree, there seemed to be other areas of the tree that had some dead limbing in it, and it'd be nice if it got cleaned up as a part of this whole process, so that the health of the tree would be enhanced by Iverson going in and doing a little top trimming, as well as any other trimming of the tree that might need to be done to keep the health of the tree at its utmost. I think that would be, you know, again, a request to the owner that be something that over and above just the trimming was done to enhance the health of the tree, even if it had some growth spray on it to keep it from growing at a higher clip. I don't know.
So are you thinking, Brian, that would all be in a report that Iverson or whoever would write?
I think a report's appropriate given the fact that we're making an exception to the code and documenting this in a way that if anyone were to look back would see that, you know, we had a strict guidance on this and that we followed it to a T. And so there wouldn't be any recourse that we were doing something outside, you know, that would open this up and go down that slippery slope.
Why don't you make a motion? That sounds like a good motion. Do you hear me, Brian?
You want me to make the motion?
Yeah, it's good.
My motion would be that under the guidance of the city forester, that the owner with whomever, you know, arborist he's using would provide a report in conjunction with the city forester on the trimming that would be done in this tree to maintain its health and, you know, trim in agreement between the forester and the owner about height. I mean, I don't know, I'm probably a little long-winded there, but.
That's okay. I second it.
Is that something you could do easily?
Bob, you look like.
Well, I'm not sure if we can do it easily. I was going to ask Yvette to read back the motion, or if she didn't get it all, maybe we need to fine tune that motion.
Yeah, we do need to fine tune the motion. I got part of it, but let's go through it again, just to make sure that I get everything that it is that you're wanting to do.
Could you say how far you got?
Let's just say, let's start from the beginning. Because where I came in, I don't think that I was already at the motion. So yeah, let's just go back a little bit and maybe condense it.
Okay.
So go ahead.
And the motion would be a report would be generated in conjunction with city forester to address the trimming of the tree with the owner arborist provided arbor.
Brian, you cut out a little bit. Sorry.
I was just saying, again, a report in conjunction with the city forester with the owner's arborist addressing the trimming, I
wrote down the trimming of the tree.
the trimming of the tree. Yeah, I think that's probably.
Can I propose just a friendly amendment instead of the word owner, because the city is the owner, you were referring to the applicant. So the applicant provided a report.
Okay.
I second it.
All right. Any other discussion, or should we have a roll call?
Not many of us. You bet.
Are you ready?
Yes?
Okay. Chair Mosley,
Yes.
Commissioner Burling,
Yes.
Commissioner Sowers,
Yep.
Does the motion carry, Yvette?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yvette.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to orders of business. Orders of business are agenda items that require city council, board, or commission discussion, debate, direction to staff, and/or action. And number one is our Arbor Day report.
Yes.
Sarah's going to give it to us.
Yes. So Arbor Day goes back to 1872 when the first Arbor Day was celebrated in Nebraska City, Nebraska. And the tradition has gone on ever since. Every state celebrates Arbor Day, and many international countries also celebrate Arbor Day. Part of the city being recognized by the Arbor Day Foundation as a Tree City USA is to hold an Arbor Day celebration and to plant at least one tree and have a proclamation declaring the day Arbor Day. So this year we're having Arbor Day on October 23rd, which is a Saturday. We will be planting our official Arbor Day tree at Devendorf Park. And we will also be planting a tree in honor of Barbara Livingston in the park as well. The Friends of Carmel Forest are planning activities to do with the youth. And we will also have a tent for Ask an Arborist. So if anyone has any tree questions, we'll have a board certified master arborist there from the local area to answer those questions. Also, something fun to do, we're going to bring out our big equipment. So if you've ever dreamed of sitting in a fire truck or honking the horn on a dump truck or something like that, that'll be there. It's something fun for the kids, especially because it's kind of cool sitting on a bulldozer, that sort of thing. We will have some light refreshments from some local businesses. In the morning, we'll have some pastries and coffee. And then towards the end of the day, lunchtime really, we'll have a picnic with some light refreshments again. So we're inviting everyone to come out and help us dig a hole and plant a tree.
Hey, Sarah, this is Brian. Is there any opportunity, again, I know this has kind of been part of the Beach Forest Commission's mantra here, is to get some exposure about our website and who we are and what we do, whether it was a flyer to just have at the booth where the arborist is, to kind of let people know that we have a Forest and Beach Commission and we're actively involved in, you know, the health of our trees and things of that nature. Is this a good opportunity to push a leaflet out or something?
Well, we will have speakers for the commemoration of the tree planting, to include Commissioner Mosley to represent the commission. Councilperson Ferlito will be there, as well as our regional urban forester from CAL FIRE. So we have an opportunity to speak publicly about the commission then. But if somebody wants to help me toss together a pamphlet next week, that would be fine.
It was just a question.
Yeah. What I was doing too is I have posted the event on Nextdoor and also the Friends of Carmel Facebook page as events. So this coming week, I was going to push those out as bigger posts, so more people will hear about the event in the area.
Is that going to be notice in the pine cone?
Say that again?
Will there be go ahead, Brian.
The pine cone.
Yes, so I did speak with a reporter last week about the trees on Scenic Boulevard, and as well as our Arbor Day celebration.
And it was posted in the Friday letter last week. So maybe we can get a reminder of that. And I know Carmel Residents Association also has the flyer. And I've gotten some interest from them saying, when is it? When are we, what's the timeline of the plantings and what have you? So I know there's some interest in the community.
Great.
Anybody else from the commission have anything to add? And I know, if Ramey, if you're still there, I know you're on our little ad hoc committee that's putting this together.
Yeah.
Anything you want to know? Yes.
No, we're going to take care of any youth activities. We've got a scavenger hunt planned, and we thought we would do a little, for someone who doesn't want to get out and about, a little collage project and a kind of a Q&A, know your P's and Q's about trees. I was just going to ask Sarah, is there anything going to be printed in the pine cone, like the flyer itself?
I did not put it in the pine cone in terms of a print ad, no.
Okay. Is it too late to do that?
I do not know. I will reach out to the pine cone and ask.
Yeah, I think those are the kind of things that catch people's eyes above and beyond a little article. So maybe just your little flyer that you put together.
Right.
What you have here, Sarah, would be good. But
Yes, Pine Cone obviously publishes tonight, so we missed that one. But I think we have some time, early part of next week, to get it in the October 22nd Pine Cone, which is perfect timing the day before.
Yeah.
just this thing would be cute.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Sarah, I believe that you have until Tuesday.
Oh, okay, perfect.
If you, well, depending on what week you want to do it in, but Tuesday's the deadline.
It has to be this coming week.
Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, we'll miss it. All right. Is there any other discussion on our Arbor Day report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our City Forester's monthly report.
Yeah, so in the month of September, we spruced up Devendorf Park a little bit for the commemoration of the 9/11 memorial. So it was 20 years ago that happened. So we added some more landscape plants and spruced it up just a little bit more. Ramey and I are having a hard time working with Tree Keeper to get all of their trees onto our map, but I know we'll figure it out. One of our gardeners did some cross training. He now knows how to look for erosion and water quality issues. We did revisit the list of tasks that we had a landscape contractor do pre-COVID, and our staff picked out the things that they thought that the city staff should definitely do, and then some of the things that they would prefer a contractor to do. So as budget allows, we may be transitioning some of those tasks over to a contractor. So things like mowing the weeds on Junipero, just kind of those one-time tedious type tasks. And then let's see what else we have. Carmel Cares continues to work on the scenic pathway in the park and at Forest Theater. We did have one large limb fall last month. This is the third limb out of the same tree. I'm noticing that the liquid ambers they just aren't handling the wind very well, and there's always a pile of branches underneath them every time the wind blows hard enough. So in the future, we should consider whether or not they're a viable tree for our preferred tree list. And then we did issue one stop work order this month. A sewer line was being repaired, and a very large portion of a private property pine tree was severed at the base. Ultimately, it caused the tree to become unstable, and it had to be removed. So we'll be discussing that then on the December agenda. So on to the numbers. And here, all right, is my screen up?
Yep.
Okay, great. So in the month of September, we're seeing kind of on trend, maybe a little bit high for removals. But we are staying on track and holding people to getting those replacement trees planted. I have our permitted removals and our breakdown of upper and lower, and our percentage is about 61% now, and up to the end of September, we've processed 153 different tree applications. And our graph, of course, showing the relationship between replanting upper and lower canopy trees over time. So it looks like we're doing a better job at getting bigger trees in than the lower canopy trees. This last month is our breakdown of work. Not a lot of change from the previous month, but there was quite a large uptick in inspections that needed to be done. So that's about double what we normally do in a month. Also, we have a little bit of sad news too. Our tree care specialist, Giuliano Cuscio, will be leaving us. His last day is the 20th. So we are doing a recruitment right now for his replacement.
Bummer, he was a nice guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll be moving away, so he had an opportunity to move. So
going back to Italy?
No, he's going to Paso Robles to work on utility line clearance. So it's a good choice for him, and I'm happy he'll really enjoy that.
All right.
Excuse me, this is Rami. Could I just make a couple comments? Unfortunately, I was struggling with the ability to log in onto the Zoom, and I lost my opportunity to do public comment. I just wanted to report that the Friends of Carmel Forest did have great success in washing a few of those trees. We followed Anya's suggestions with respect to runoff and adequately taking care of the site and not too much water. And we have great results with that. So we hope that we're going to be allowed to do that treatment in the future if we see a tree that's really suffering. I mean, this was a tree, the specific one is on Mission. We were going to take that tree out. It was so bad. And it's got beautiful, healthy, thick, fluffy, new green growth on a pine tree. So we were really happy with that result. The other thing I was going to ask is there a way, Sarah, to put another column on your chart here that is titled 2021 Permitted Removals and Required Planting? I think it would be very beneficial for the Commission and the Friends of Carmel Forest and the public who have an interest to know how many trees actually that were permitted got replanted. Because you keep saying that you're staying on top of the recommendations or the requirements for people to replant, but we don't have any way to see those numbers that trees are actually getting planted, whether it's, and I don't know when you do that, if it's final inspection or 3 months after final to go back and make sure it's still there. But I think it's really important for us to see when there's 20 permitted removals, how many, and I realize the numbers are not going to line up with those 20 that got planted, but it just would be nice to know that every month all these permitted removals actually are resulting in trees getting planted by people.
Yeah, for sure. People mail me pictures of their trees a lot of times, and they'll call and tell me when they've planted and things. So yeah, I can work on that. I will tell you that we'll most likely stick to doing those checks on a quarterly basis. I don't have the bandwidth or the manpower to do those on a rolling schedule every 30 days. So I could do it.
Okay, well, and that would be fine. Just, you know, a quarterly report that includes how many permitted removals actually got planted.
Yeah, I can work towards that.
That would be great. Very helpful. And then the other thing I wanted to say, which is probably more toward Bob, but the Friends of Carmel Forest has this grant money that came to us from PG&E, and that was part of that mapping that we did with Peter, you know, a few years back, and the tree planting in the downtown area, the squares, some of them got cut and refilled. But we feel a need to participate in more tree work in the downtown area. And it's not work that we can do in the sense of, you know, it has to be contractors that the city has, but we are willing to pay and use that money that was given to us to see more tree squares routed out with stumps, trees planted, new good soil put in. We really want to help and work with the city with that. So at some point, Bob, we need to get together and figure out how that works.
Raimi, could you please send me an email to that effect?
I will do that. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raimi.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Sarah and her report? Nothing from the public, so we're going to move on to our wonderful Public Works Director report for this month.
Wonderful? Where? Oh, me? Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. First, talk about city council actions related to forestry, parks, and beach. A couple things to note. At the October 5th council meeting, council awarded a $65,000 change order to Topes Tree Service for ongoing tree care services. This is an existing contract. We just needed to up the budget for a work that was immediately done. More to come on that topic of tree care contractors. Council also awarded a $58,000 contract also to Topes Tree Service, totally separate contracts. The one and only bidder for our fuel abatement project at Mission Trails Nature Preserve. So that project is, of the $58,000, $45,000 is funded by a Coastal Conservancy grant for fossil fuel abatement. So that project should be started here in a couple of weeks. And 2 days ago on the 12th, council had a workshop, and I think I mentioned this email I sent to Commissioner Sowers. The city staff as a whole, all departments, we have 58 projects that we're trying to manage, and we don't have the staff, we don't have the bandwidth to do anything close to the 58. So we asked council to prioritize the projects. Of those 58 projects, 14 are related to forestry, parks, and beach, which is about 24% of the whole pie. So there's a good percentage of forestry, parks, and beach things to be done. It's just that we don't have the capacity at this point to go too far into many of them. At the November council meeting, we're going to be asking council for another $150,000 to spread across our tree care contractors. We have 5 on-call tree care contractors. So we're going to up the ante The reason we started off low this year is because of our tree care specialist, Giuliano, who was a fantastic asset to the city. We really saved a lot of money every day he was out there removing mid-sized trees that we didn't really remove very many mid-sized trees in years past. So we really went to removing small trees up to mid-sized trees, still leave the big monstrous trees to to contractors. But without Giuliano, we're going to have more needs to just get the work done by contractors at quite a bit more expense, but it is to get done. I think that's it for the council-related actions. Next is capital improvement projects. Not much is going on there. We do have interviews coming up pretty soon with our project manager to fill the position of project manager. Once that person is on board, then they'll be doing several of those 14 park projects started on day one. So we're looking forward to that. For San Carlos, there's a citywide paving project that we're pretty much done with design, and we have funding for it. It's about $1 million project. Part of it has been world famous around here. It's adding some median islands along San Carlos between 11th and 13th Avenue. Initially, there was a thought to put in 2 or 3 larger median islands that are 25 feet long and 6 foot wide. A lot of commotion at a public meeting we had before COVID hit. We had some renderings at that point. We have changed the design for smaller medians that are only 12 feet long by 6 feet wide, 3 or 4 of them. So we got new renderings that match those smaller islands. And they look great and everything. We have to schedule a public meeting to present that. But before we do that, we have to amend the contract with our engineering firm. So it's contract with the engineering firm, then a public meeting, and then come to the Forest and Beach Commission to finalize the community preferred format of landscaping on the medians. You would think it's it would be pretty easy, but there's a lot of steps. So that's all I have for projects. Climate Committee, we kind of talked about that. The workshop, you're encouraged to go on the November 18th. Update on volunteer organizations. If you haven't heard, the Carmel Resident Association gave the honor of the Carmel Citizen of the Year to Dale Byrne. You heard Dale at your commission once or twice along the way talk about what Carmel Cares has been doing for the city, what the median miners have been doing. So it's a really great program, and I got to go to the CRA on a Sunday afternoon and make some very nice comments to Dale, and I threw in a couple of wisecracks along the way to make it fun. And so that's really it. And Sarah mentioned that Carmel Harris is still doing what they've been doing. They're doing a fantastic job. They really help us, as do the other volunteer organizations. And then for Miscellaneous, the pickleball courts that was approved by the Forest and Beach Commission last month, they have been painted now. We did have some uproar when at the time of the painting. Some of the people that live close by are worried about the noise and additional car parking and things of that nature. We've talked to them. We think we're okay. We're proceeding, but just to be aware that was a little bit of an uproar. Ramey beat me to the punch, but we filled in the 5 tree wells on Dolores, on the east side of Dolores between Ocean and 7th. Just so it's clear, this was wanted by the Forest and Beach Commission from a couple of years ago. We asked for all the utilities to be marked out. PG&E came out and showed a nice bright yellow line on the sidewalk closer to the storefronts. Here's a gas line down here. So, okay, great. And we cut out all these tree wells up right behind this, the curb. We were ready to plant them. And actually, we got to the point of starting to plant the new trees. And when we dug down by hand just a couple of feet, there's the gas line, not where it was marked out to be. So after a long hassle with PG&E, they're not going to ever relocate that gas line. We decided just to put the concrete back in and seek putting trees elsewhere. And Ramey kind of was thinking the same thing. What do we do next now that we can't go there? And last but not least, this morning we met with representative from PG&E talking about undergrounding the power lines in the Mission Trail Nature Preserve that are along the Willow Trail. It's mostly from 11th down to about, I don't know, 13th or so. I think we have, well, this is part of PG&E's overarching program now to go underground whenever there's a potential fire danger, especially near populated areas. So our project at Mission Trail is a very good candidate for possible undergrounding, but it could be a good tour, really good meeting this morning. Councilwoman Karen Ferlito was there. We were well represented. It could be up to a year before we find out that it is eligible or that it's a top contender. It could be a year and they say, no, we're not high enough up on the list, but we're thinking within a year, hopefully we'll know, oh, they're gonna do it. And then it's a matter of when they would do that. But anyway, it's a long-term project to get those darn wires underground. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have one question about the pickleball painting. Did the people who were upset feel like they had not been properly noticed that that was going to happen?
That was one of the concerns. To be honest, they had 3 calls about it. But we did some pretty substantial outreach and we got a substantial amount of feedback. So, I mean, I technically could have knocked on doors. They technically could have tried to find all of their mailing addresses. I can't put things on people's doorknobs because they could be second homes, and that's a signal that no one's there. So it just, our lack of addressing can make it challenging to pinpoint exactly who needs to be notified.
You know, was it tennis, people who played tennis that were complaining?
No, it was really,
No.
well, it was primarily the sound.
Oh, the sound, was it?
The noise and the car parking. Car parking is a problem. It was before we repainted the pickleball courts.
And apparently the pickleball players are a little bit more rowdy than the tennis players, and they tend to cheer and clap more than the tennis players do. So again, it was the sound.
Well, it's more fun and it's not quite as, you know, when the tennis people are out there trying to hit the tennis ball, there's a lot more tension and grunting going on, clapping and laughing. Anyway, anybody have any other questions for Bob? Anybody from the public? Thank you for your report. Thank you all. Let's see, we need to talk, what, future, my thing says future agenda items. Is there anything that we need to talk about adding to our future agenda?
The ad hoc committee for communications and outreach.
Oh, yeah.
That should probably be on the list.
We haven't met, but I don't know, is JC away? But I'm sure we'll be getting with that again.
Well, we're not going to meet again actually as a commission until December. Should we put something on the agenda that will have a report from the ad hoc committee then?
Yeah, it's good.
Is that okay?
I left something out. So CAL FIRE, they're the state's Forest Service, has urban forestry grants, and we submitted an initial proposal. for funding of our management plan and a tree inventory. And we've been invited to submit the full proposal for consideration, which I'm actually kind of surprised because 75% of the funding has to go to underserved communities, and our demographic is not underserved. So I'm pretty excited that we get to submit the full proposal. So I may have an update on that by the December meeting.
Great. And then before we adjourn, let me just make sure we're all going to go to the climate meeting next month instead of having our formal meeting, and someone will send us out information about how we get to that meeting.
And
Right.
time.
It's at the same time, 3:30.
Okay, and it's a workshop, so is there an agenda or anything we have to get a hold of?
There will be, and we'll make sure that you are notified.
Okay, great. Anybody else have anything before we adjourn?
Remember the 23rd, Arbor Day.
I'll be there. I'll be there with pastries and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay?
Ready to plant trees. All right, you guys?
Darlene, just the information for that workshop will probably all be on the website as well,
Okay.
but we'll try to get the information out to our commissioners once we get it.
All right. Thank you, Yvette.
Uh-huh.
Thank
Hi,
you.
this is Rainey. Could you
Oh, hi, Rainey.
confirm the date? Could you confirm the date of the next Forest and Beach meeting?
Sure. It's
That will be December 9th.
9th. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
all right.
Hey, see you at Arbor Day.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.